Hello, everybody. Welcome. Today, wow, we've got a major talk here. We're going to talk about, on the outset, it'll look like how narcissists are deadly, and how you can understand. I'm not going to be focused so much on them because sometimes we get sucked into all of their dynamics, but it's important that you're aware of how deadly the narcissistic mindset is and how it permeates into our world mindset and stuff like that. My name is Dr. Cheryl Meyer. I'm a psychologist in my day job, and I'm here to equip you and help you understand what's going on behind everything, so that you are equipped. Now, I didn't know all of the time that that's what I was doing. I just know that I was working on, if you want to call it, deprogramming myself from the world system, from this everyday normal way. Not normal, but if you think of the majority of the masses are going this way and they're being directed, there are people like what Plato talked about. Plato talked about this 300 years before Christ, BC. He was around. And I think Buddha was around 400 years before, right? And so I look at, if all truth is God's truth, then there are people that are aware of truth and trying their best, doing their best, not trying, they're doing their best to bring truth to the surface so that you can know truth. And they're kind of like laying the framework down, it's like they were before Christ, so someone had to lay the framework down so that we would be ready to understand even more truth expressed in the person, the God being of Christ. Now, I welcome all religions. I say that all the time because the same sun that's outside shines on all of us. So all of us are meant to have access to the truth and to know truth. And Jesus said, by knowing the truth experientially, when you act on truth and live it in your life, the truth will set you free. And so you deserve this. You deserve to know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Now, let me give you this information. I have it written down here about the narcissist and their playbook. Because, okay, so understand that a narcissist is just like your own egotism. Your own egotism, if you were, what Eckhart Tolle talks about. So I say I was brought up Christian, but not in this confined sense of how people reduce it. Let me talk to you real quick about Plato, and then I'll talk to you about that. Is Plato said, this is how he says, and I have a short for you to watch. You can watch that. Hopefully I get to put it right there so you have a link to it. That everybody, when they come into this earth, this is how he described it in poetical words. When you come here, everyone gets one candle. You go into this room and you get to grab a candle. But some people got to stick around a little bit longer, and they grabbed a handful of candles, and they're like our poets and our artists and the prophets and the mystics and the saints. And so they're lighting the way. We're lighting the way. I will put myself among them. It's not an egotistical thing. It's understanding somehow I have this responsibility because I got to grab a bunch of lights. You have this responsibility. Even if you just study, if you don't understand this, but if you grew up calling yourself a Christian, then meditate for at least a week, at least 3 hours, 1 hour a day for a week is one I recommend. It might take you longer or less time, but the verse, John 1:9, it says, Christ is this light that came into the world, that is in all men, all anthropos, men and women, all people coming into this world. Christ is the light that's in each of us already. And so New Age will like hijack that and call everything the Christ light, and then they'll, it says the enemy of our souls comes in as the angel of light and present that all of this is the Christ light, and then it gets confusing. Stay simple. Stay simple. I just trust that God will reveal, that God, as in the creator of all of us, will keep revealing this to you. But so what was I saying before? Oh yeah, so I grew up Christian, but I look at Christ, sit with Christ, and you'll see he's always teaching highest consciousness, highest truth, highest love. And he's the one that said, You are truly my disciples if you follow this way. He's showing the way, like the way makers. And you can look up the way makers manifesto. And there's some truth in all of that. It was beautiful. I just showed one of my friends here at my office, right? It was so fun. Anyway, and so that's just a glimpse of what looks like when you think differently, think outside of the box, how you break free. But you can be hijacked even, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word. I'm just saying it euphemistically, like not euphemistically, just like a metaphor. And so take a moment whenever I take these breaths to be really deeply present. Know yourself as the human being. You are a soul in a body. George MacDonald said this, and C.S. Lewis quoted George MacDonald. He says, don't teach your kids you have a soul. Teach them they are a soul and they have a body. So you are this. You come from heaven. You have a remembrance of the things that I'm bringing up. So you have access to these things. Don't dumb yourself down when you're meant to be bright and shining. Jesus says, I came to give you life and give it to you abundantly. That in Greek, the word is zoe. I studied Greek for 2 years. I've been a psychologist for over 20. So it took me 9 years before that to get my doctorate, right? That's a cover of one of my books. I've published 3 books and I'm working on another one, just so you know some of my credentials. But, you know, what I want to do is equip you so that your mind is sharp, so that you can use discernment and discern what I'm saying. Test everything everyone's saying. Don't just take it. But I learned a lot from Eckhart Tolle in The Power of Now, just about now I'm not saying I agree with everything that he has going there, but I created a 1-year class, and I talked to his people, and they said I could quote him briefly, but a 1-year class going through that book, 49 1-hour videos. So a year, and I'm not trying to sell that right now, I'm just telling you, like, it took me making 49 1-hour videos on that to understand it more thoroughly, that and the mystic Christians will talk to you about, you are not your outer present day personality self. I'm not Dr. Cheryl Meyer. I'm a soul who has a soul remembrance and a remembrance of we came in the image and likeness of God. And you don't have to understand all this, but let me go back to, so what I wanted to talk about was, what I had written down was the 7 virtues and vices and their cures. So maybe we'll get into it like that, but how I translated it today, I wrote it in a different way for us. Because when you live according to the virtues, vices will, this is not about being a goody, like, oh, I do all these things right, a religious spirit. It's not that. It's when everyone was given what's called like the logos in Greek. You have the capacity. Your nous in Greek is your reasoning capacity. You're meant to have that sharp and active and aware. And so when you go into vices, it's like when you pray the mystic prayer that Jesus taught, give us this day our daily bread. Understand that it's kind of like every day you get 100 units of energy, let's say, and your mind has this capacity. And when you go into vices and addictions, you dissipate that. And so you're not as sharp. The fire is not under you for you to ascend to get to higher levels of operating in consciousness, so that you can be a light in this world, so that you can be loving and effective and powerful and speak from the silence, from the stillness, from your soul knowing, from being a human being, instead of just a talking head, a personality self that's caught up in like, what does my makeup look like today? What am I going to wear? Blah, blah, blah. You dissipate your energy like that. It just disperses. And so you're not there, even though you might do some meaningful things in this world, they're not coming from that deeper sense of power. Okay, so what the narcissist does, okay, I want to explain to you how when you're brought up by a narcissist, they, one definition of a narcissist, so you can understand like the slang definition of a narcissist. This really helps you understand the pattern. Now, if you look at the devil, as you want to understand, Jesus said, I saw Satan fall from the sky like lightning. Some people call this like the devil's playbook or whatever. It just understand that the devil is this whole narcissistic system and actually a fallen angel, a being, but we don't need to get into that because then people get into arguments and get into ego battles. So I steer clear of that, so we don't get lost in understanding what is truth here. Is like, but the more you dismantle the narcissistic system and what you ingested of these lies and how you've been being, usually the people that come to these videos, we have been the codependent to the narcissist. We keep believing their lies and trying to feed them and trying to get them to stay by us so that they don't reject us because we think we're going to be nothing without them. You're everything without them. Like, all you need is love, and God is love, you know, to quote the Beatles, and God is love. And so the more you get free of this whole narcissistic system, the more you can see how it's playing out in different organizations and systems that are in our world. If you want to understand all the different systems that operate, I don't have to name them right now. You can ask me in the comments. Just ask me and I can write them in the comments, but you can just guess as well. So I wrote down, like, your life is a gift from the Creator. Now understand, the definition for narcissist is I am the piece of crap that the world revolves around. And so they don't necessarily know themselves as that. They have this inflated sense of self, but really they're just trying to get everybody to worship them so that they can go and keep this fake inflated sense of self. And so they will use you and manipulate you. And a lot of them aren't necessarily even conscious of this, but you want to get out of the system. And so what they do, and I know this from experiencing it myself, this is how I know this, and I studied it for 30 years now, right? Scientifically studied it and worked with clients. Now, I'm not your psychologist, but there's a disclaimer in my, just so I can't be online and I don't want to be held liable for your mental health. I want to just equip people as best I can in this moment. Is when so let's say in my own experience, my father's dad was a perfectionist, and my dad could do no wrong or else he'd be in really in big trouble. And so he might have learned this from his dad. I learned that I need to be like a trash can, right? So you understand a visual, right? And so we don't want to see any of our bad, so we're going to put it on you. And you are a good girl if you are this trash can for us. Be this trash can, and you can't have any talents or gifts or be unique. It's like God created all of you with gifts. I did this video just on Sunday, 1 minute reel, where it was talking about you are a diamond. I was seeing this so clearly. You are a diamond in a jar of clay, but they don't want you to know your gifts because then it takes away from their false shine. So we have been programmed to say you're worthless. All you are is our trash can. You need to take on all the bad. Now, if you take on all of the bad, right, then what gets incorporated is you have this sense of I'm responsible for all the evil in the world and all the bad, because your world is your world of what you experience with your parents. That's how you see the lens of the world from that beginning that you had in your family of origin, they call it in psychology. And so because you took that in, you start developing your own weird God concept. Like, you have to take care of all these people. And like, so sometimes I'll be like warning people of stuff because I feel responsible if I don't tell them. Now, there is a verse that says if a prophet sees something and you don't speak out, you don't speak the truth boldly, you know, it's something you can read it yourself. It says, then other people's blood will be on your hands. So there is some truth to that. But the lies that I got taken in was that you are responsible. Now, what happens is when everything starts crumbling around you, and because we all have our ups and downs in lives, this is why I was saying narcissism is deadly. And if you, okay, so if you're on Instagram, go over to my YouTube. I'm going to do 20 minutes on YouTube. So there's going to be 5 more minutes there. The rest of this whole teaching is going to be on my on my site called yoursoulsongs.com. So look it up. There's the store, and look it up and you can get the rest of that. I started charging for the rest of it because it's valuable knowledge, and I want to make a living, you know, and I'm not trying to sell stuff. This is why I'm giving you all this. I'm talking so fast for the first 20 minutes because you can watch this over and over again, take notes, and this stuff will make itself really clear to you. Just this first 20 minutes will be enough. If you watch the first 20 minutes 3 times, it will be like you got the paid part for an hour. So you don't have to buy anything, right? But the people that want to go in this more depth, they can. But watch this first part 3 times if you're on YouTube now. So when they teach you, when we have our life's ups and downs, and you learned as a child, I have to be this good child and take in all the bad and be the trash receptacle and take responsibility for everyone else's bad, because the narcissist can't stand holding any bad. So they project it out on you and say, you are the bad. And this is how you can serve me. And you can be my servant. And I'll tell you, you're such a great person. And so we don't know how to get our own worth, right? Drop down from your head into your heart. Know that God is love, and you are loved, and you are cherished, and you are beautiful, and you really are. I'm not just saying these things. You were made in the image and likeness of God. Meditate on Psalm 139. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You know, the book of your life is written. God says, I have plans to prosper you, for sure, right? That's in Jeremiah. But okay, so what happens with the narcissist is when things go bad, they'll say it's all your fault, and you'll feel like it's all out of control. And I was telling in a video that's 1 hour and 44 minutes long, right? So that's free. I just made it. I have over 1,000 videos now, even on all my platforms, on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. So you can study these things. Lots of them are hour long. This one was 1 hour and 44 minutes. Like, it took me so long last Saturday, but I had to get it out. And in that, I give a testimony of what happened to me. Basically, I got suicidal when I was around 17. I went to college when I was 17. And I go into that, but understand that this is why the narcissism is so deadly, is because when you take in lies, the lies are what's deadly. The lies are at the root of our problems. And so everyone will try to like fix these addictions that we've gone to, right? These outer surface addictions, but they don't. And that video will explain to you how. And I have all of these links in the comments. Look in the comment of where I was getting all this information from. There's like at least 10 links, I think. And so that you can break this down more. But this guy was saying, this guy named David something Hernandez was talking about how it's a lot like Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's like, you have these lies, and these lies create thought patterns, and the thought patterns create your actions and habits, and then the habits create these addictions. Now, in order to get rid of your addictions, people keep trying, and I know because they come in here and try to get rid of the addictions, you have to go down and get to the initial lie. And so I was doing that myself because I'm always learning. And I broke it down and I was like, wow, I took in this lie that I had to be like God and fix everything, and I was responsible for all the bad, and I thought that lie was true. Then of course I wanted to die when things got bad. And so it's like, but as soon as you understand the lie, it's like, oh, I'm not God. And that's even a pride thing. And now I'm not saying I was acting out of like, I'm so prideful, but I think it's Jesus who says pride comes before the fall, and it's in the Proverbs and Psalms as well. And so it's prideful to think, well, God's not doing his job good enough because he's responsible for all this bad, and I don't like the way he's doing it, so I'm going to take my own life because I don't like the way he's operating, and I think it's better if I just get out of here. Now, that's one way of defining it and looking at it, how that is a form of pride, and the pride will always show you where you're going off path, right? But when I was acting on that in that moment, now I'm not in that place now. I understand that deep despair because I have been in that. And my friend Elliot Smith and I were he was very dear to my heart, and he brought a lot of consciousness. He was a musician here because he was aware of this way of operating as well. And we had this in common, although we didn't always talk about it explicitly. But and so understanding when you get to the root of that lie, and it's like, oh, wait, I'm not responsible for, I was in a place of despair because I thought it was my fault that I had all the bad, and I didn't know how to fix it because it wasn't mine to fix. So no wonder it's so overwhelming. This is why it's so important to trace out how narcissists operate, not just in our personal life and dating life, because who cares? Like, I mean, I care about that. That's important. That's just a microcosm of how our world is operating, the world system. Some people call it the Babylon system or the devil's playbook, and they don't want this to be exposed. They, like, the cockroaches, let's say, that are in the dark don't want the light on because the light brings to light all of this stuff. All right, so I'm doing it in this way as a psychologist and now as a musician, bringing it through songs that come to me because I get songs from all the practice that I have in meditation. I don't know yet the song for this. Maybe I'll hashtag it if one comes up while I'm teaching this in the bigger teaching. Because usually a song comes because the song will help us. It goes beyond our defenses and helps us understand this on lots of levels, because there are lots of levels for you to understand this. Now, I hope you understood. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, ask about it in the comments, right? Or watch this 3 times and then ask, or watch some of my other 1-hour videos, or watch that 1 hour and 44-minute video because I break it all down there. All right, so I appreciate that you're here. If you want to go on with me, I'm going to keep speaking for the rest of this hour. I think it's going to be an hour. I might be late to my next meeting, but I started a few minutes late. So thank you so much. I so appreciate you so far, and I'm not going to stop this. We're going to go right on to the next one now.